If you're not getting offers, pay attention to what the market is telling you and adjust your price. This is the time to be getting your deal done. Welcome to this week's look at the state of the New York City real estate market, where I take a look at the luxury market, the Manhattan market, and the Brooklyn market. I do it because I want you to be informed. It never hurts when you're a consumer to be informed. Welcome to this week's look at the state of the New York City real estate market. We're going to be taking a look at what happened last week. That's for the week of May 1st to May 8th. We're going to be looking at luxury market, the Manhattan market, and the Brooklyn market. I'm going to be breaking it all down for you. I'm going to be then giving you my takeaways and my thoughts for buyers and for sellers. First, we're going to get started with the luxury market. As always, if you have any questions along the way, please post those below. If you find this kind of thing interesting, as always, please subscribe so you can get the very latest news. And if you think these videos might be helpful to someone who has questions about the New York City real estate market, please feel free to share them. There were 30 contracts signed last week. That is 3 more than the previous week. Condos outsold co-ops 20-7, and there were 2 townhouses in the mix. The number one contract that was signed last week was a townhouse at 33 Perry Street. It was asking $16.9 million. It was reduced from $19.9 million when it was listed back in June. It is a 3-story, 26-foot wide house. It was originally built as a carriage house in the 19th century. It is currently divided into 3 apartments, has an owner's duplex on the top 2 floors, and it includes a roof garden. The house has over 6,600 square feet. It has 6 fireplaces and arched windows. The number 2 contract was the 8th floor at 810 Fifth Avenue. It was asking $16.5 million. It was reduced from $22 million when it was first listed on the market in 2020. This full floor co-op has 4 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms. It has a 28-foot living room with a fireplace, and that opens onto a 19-foot library with a fireplace. Both the living room and the library overlook Central Park. The amenities in this 12-unit building include doormen and storage. The Co-op board does not allow financing. The total weekly asking price sales volume, 242,800,900. The average asking price, 8,093,366. The median asking price, 6,825,000. The average discount from the original ask to last asking price, 8%. And the average days on market, 689. Okay, that is it for the luxury market for last week. Now we're going to take a look at what happened in Manhattan. As always, any questions about any of these reports, please post them below. So we saw the inventory rise a little bit over the week. Last week in Manhattan, the supply was up. 456 properties came on the market. That's up a little bit by 4.3%. The contracts signed up also 19.10%. 243 contracts were signed. That was a nice bump. Off-market properties also rose fairly significantly, almost 62%. 199 properties went off-market last week. If we take a look at the 1-month supply, 1,974, that's up almost 6%. Contracts signed down almost 22%, 895. And off-market properties, 561, up a little over 37%. If we take a look at this market pulse, we continue to be in a neutral market in Manhattan. We have dropped a bit, as we've been noting. Sellers, you really want to be taking note of this. I'm going to get into that when I wrap up my report. I'll be talking more about that. I also want to take a look at this the last 30 days of our liquidity pace chart here, 895. This is not particularly impressive, although last week we did see a really nice bump in contract activity. We're going to be paying very, very close attention to this. We really would like to see this number a bit higher this time of year. Definitely would like to be seeing this well over 900. Let's see where this goes. I want to take a look at this net inventory trend. You see in Manhattan that this is rising. So sellers, again, we're really in this sell window right now. Pay attention. Before, let's say in the last couple of months, we didn't have as much inventory. You had a little more leverage with the buyers, but now as the inventory is beginning to rise, even though the contract activity has been pretty good, especially in this last week, we saw a nice little bump in the contract activity. We only have until the end of May for the active spring season before the summer season kicks in and we start to slow down a bit. So pay attention. You really want to try to be getting your deal done now that the inventory is rising. You see by this supply chart that the Manhattan inventory continues to slowly rise. This is typical this time of year. The demand also is rising. It's outpacing 2019 levels. The new listings are ticking up, but this may be kind of at the top as we are just beginning to wind down our seasonal activity, which should be happening right around the end of May. Contract activity was definitely up. We need to be really sticking with this 250 a week in order to maintain this 1,000 contracts signed a month, to maintain the kind of deal volume that indicates a very healthy market for us. Okay, that's it for Manhattan. I'm going to get into my takeaways at the end of this report after I finish up Brooklyn. Let's take a look now and see what happened in Brooklyn last week. So Brooklyn is starting to wake up. This is very interesting. It took a little while. We see the supply was up last week, almost, 8.5%. 243 properties came on the market. Contracts signed, almost 8% up. 178 contracts were signed. And we saw, a bunch of properties coming off the market, over 157%. 103 properties came off the market last week. The supply for the month under 1%, 966. So nothing wowing here. The contract signed down 6.3%, 652 contracts signed. Off market, 221. That's down almost 9%. We're looking at the Market Pulse chart. You see how this neutral market is kind of rising to kind of begin to favor the sellers. Why? Because we don't have a lot of inventory on the market, but we are seeing an uptick in buyer demand. So if we're taking a look at this liquidity pace chart for Brooklyn, we're seeing this remaining in this neutral place, but we're definitely seeing signs of life, different than in Manhattan. However, with this increased demand in buyer activity, we are going to also need to commensurately see more properties coming on the market. Let's take a look at the net inventory for Brooklyn, and we can see that is really, quite flat. Not a lot of inventory here. If the buyers don't have a lot to choose from, it's going to be hard for them to really engage and stay in the market. If we take a look at the supply, it's, essentially it's unchanged from last week. And if we take a look at the demand, the demand notched its largest percentage gain since September 2020. Buyers finally had a little bit of supply to deal with, and they quickly absorbed it. And the new listings inched up a little bit, kind of around 2%. That helped. Let's see if we get a little more inventory in Brooklyn, if that continues to help things. So we also see that the weekly level of contracts signed also has risen. It's gotten to a new high, right? So we're seeing signs of life in Brooklyn that we have not really seen a lot of in this spring market. So remains to be seen. Perhaps Brooklyn is now starting to really kick in its spring market. Here are my thoughts. What does this all mean at the end of the day? Well, let's just kind of start with a top down. Manhattan, this is a note to sellers. We are really in the sell zone. This is an alert to sellers that this is the time to be getting your deal done. You could say the same thing for Brooklyn sellers simply because we know that the summer months are always pretty quiet. However, Brooklyn is kind of in a different place, so perhaps it's not as much so as it is for Manhattan. But for Manhattan, most definitely, we are in a sell zone. We're seeing the supply in Manhattan continuing to trend up. We're seeing Brooklyn, for the most part, remaining fairly flat. We're seeing the demand in Manhattan ticking up slightly for the week, but below the trend. And Brooklyn, we're seeing that ticking up slightly higher. We're seeing a market pulse in Manhattan, kind of neutral, maybe even a little flat or slightly declining. In Brooklyn, also neutral, but kind of waking up. And the contract activity in Manhattan, fairly good. In Brooklyn, definitely good. Overall, know that our active spring market runs historically through Memorial Day. If we're lucky, we get into June a little bit, but after that, things in the summer months really seem to slow down. Sellers, this is the time. Get your deal done during this active spring market. This peak liquidity period and price action for the spring market is likely behind you. If you're not getting offers, pay attention to what the market is telling you and adjust your price. For buyers, if you're looking to buy now, the optimum leverage is often found with properties with longer than average days on the market. And if you're not in a hurry, September, October might also be a good time for leverage. Okay, that is it for this week's look at the state of the New York City real estate market. If you have any questions at all, please post them below. As always, I want to thank the Olshan Report and Urban Digs for their amazing reporting. The work that they do helps me to help you to make great decisions. I'll be back next week with the very latest news about the state of the New York City real estate market. In the meantime, take care.